Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kirt Jacobs, and this is a very somber installment of Off the Cuff, the most somber one we've ever done and we may ever do. If you see above me, there's a nice digital picture of Never Forget. So I'm going to take some time and talk off the cuff about my experiences as a fellow human being and a fellow American citizen on Tuesday morning, September 11th, 2001, roughly 20 years ago at this time. To put it in perspective, I was 32 years old and I lived on the west coast of the United States. And there is, for those that may not know, a 3-hour time difference between the East Coast and the West Coast. So first off, I want to offer my profound sadness and sorrow and condolences to any of you that might see this, that had someone that died that day, be it a firefighter, someone in the towers, or someone indirectly in those unbelievable situations on those plane flights that ultimately crashed into the Pentagon and into Shakesville, Pennsylvania. So I'm going to talk about how it impacted me as a person and how it had a very direct impact on me of why I left Southern California. I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, and I came back about a year, almost to the day, after 9/11, and I think that had a big impact on it. So I'm going to talk about kind of things leading up to it. As many know, it's well documented, we had a new president, the 43rd president of the United States, George W. Bush. He was 8 or 9 months into his new presidency, and then 9/11 happened. For me, I don't believe in the devil. I believe God does good and bad to test us as souls. That's up for interpretation. I'm not here to get into a religious scholarly pursuit. That's not my point. But there was definitely, ladies and gentlemen, there was definitely something amiss on the planet that entire week. Let alone the catastrophic, cataclysmic, tragic human just devastation that happened on that day in 3 very different areas of the United States. But a little backstory, I was dating a woman who I become very fond of. And long story short, I made love to her the night of 9/11. And some of you are like, why is he bringing this up? Turned out she was bipolar and she was very not nice to me over time. Let's keep it at that. And I never did forget that all that happened during that time frame. And the days leading up to September 11th, 2001, my sister and brother-in-law were flying out to a business conference for my sister in Palm Springs, California. And if any of you know where Palm Springs is, it's a little bit, east of the Los Angeles, Southern California area. I was living in a place called Seal Beach, California at that time, which is the last major city before you get to Long Beach, California, into Los Angeles County and Long Beach Harbor. The reason why I want to talk about that is their plane coming in, I think that's Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, September 9th, almost had mechanical failure and crashed in the desert flying in from Louisville. So you got that coupled with the lady that obviously was not sincere. And I'm not going to get into mental health issues. I'd never experienced that before. I learned a lot from that. But there was a lot going on. There was a lot of weird chemistry on the planet that week. And I know some of you will see this and you weren't even alive when that happened, or you were itty bitty babies, or maybe you were 6 or 7. But it was palpable. You could feel it. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what transpired on my day on 9/11/2001. At the time, I worked in mortgage banking, brokering at a firm called ditech.com, DITECH. Long story short, they had about a $9 million advertising budget. You would go into work very early because, again, on the West Coast, you're 3 hours behind the East Coast. So if it's 10 a.m. on the East Coast, it's 7 a.m. on the West Coast. and the East Coast is already up and going. Everybody does their coffee, they're ready to work. So you were in a queue, a phone bank, and you had to answer the phone. Well, as these things I'm about to tell you unfold, I'm getting in the shower. I always had to be at work by 7 a.m. California time, because 10 a.m. on the East Coast, things are pretty frothy and going. And we advertise all over the United States, so calls would come in. Now, my sister and brother-in-law were staying with me in an apartment before they went back to the event in Palm Springs. They came up a little early for a couple of days to hang with me, which was nice. I lived by the beach, had a beautiful apartment, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 3rd floor, overlooked the Pacific Ocean in Seal Beach. It was an unbelievable bachelor pad. Anyway, so I'm in the shower doing my thing, and I hear this on my shower door, and it's my sister. And she says a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. And of course, I, like millions of Americans at that particular juncture in that day's history, thought it was some fool that either got caught in the fog. I hate to say, maybe they were drinking and flying a plane. Maybe they were disoriented and they crashed a Cessna into the top of the World Trade Center. That was not as extremely uncommon as you think. Planes had crashed into other large skyscrapers in New York over the years. So I finished my thing. I get out of the shower, I get dressed, and I'm going to go to work because I don't think there's anything going on, right? So this happened at approximately 5:46 a.m. The first tower was hit. Keep in mind, that's 8:46 Eastern time. So my sister comes and she tells me that. Now you flash forward, and the second tower is hit at 6:03 a.m., which is 9:03 a.m. on the East Coast. So I keep getting ready. My sister, because I kind of blew her off, didn't bother me. Now I'm fully dressed. I come out. I'm leaving for work, and she says there's an actual plane that's just hit the next tower. Well, at this point, I'm just like, I'm going to go to work. Everything was so surreal. It was happening so quickly. So I get in my car. If you've ever lived in Southern California or in huge cities, you crawl on the freeway to get to where you're going. And as I'm in the car, the Pentagon gets hit. So that was approximately 6:37 a.m. It always took me about 30 minutes or so to get to work. So now I'm mad because now it's pretty clear you have to be a moron to think that all of this is just a coincidence and there's something much larger at play going on. And, you're a little bit scared. You're in a major metropolitan area, probably the top 5 in the world. And you're like, well, what's going to happen next? Is something going to happen out here? Of course, my phone starts blowing up from my family back here in Louisville saying, hey, don't go to work. I'm like, I'm going to work. So I worked in a skyscraper, ironically. So I get into work. And now I find out on the radio that at about 6:42 a.m., the FAA grounds all flights around the United States. And for those of you that have never heard a sky over the United States with no planes in it, it is spooky. It is so quiet. It's like the 19th century instantly. You don't hear anything. You can hear a pin drop. But anyway, so I go up, I get into my cubicle. The phone bank is going around. And at this point, they're debating, if I recall correctly, closing the stock market, the bond market. Well, we're doing mortgages for people. So you have to have rate sheets and whatnot. So I get a call actually from this guy from New York State, upstate New York, ironically. And he's badgering me saying, I need a rate. I want to get a quote, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sir, I know you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you, but I don't really know what's going on yet. But the country, I think, is under attack. They closed the bond market. Stock market is closed at this point, and there's like no flights in the air. I think you need to turn on your television. He truly did not believe me, and sadly, I had to hang up on the man because at that point, there were people in the office beginning to cry because we've got it on TV. It's now we flash forward a couple of minutes, and I think it's about 6:59 a.m., which would have been 9:59 a.m. on the East Coast, and that made it. When the second tower came down, and that was pretty seminal moment for me. I get goosebumps. I can remember it like yesterday. And in that moment, we had a very odd individual. This was a guy that had tattoos. He worked out all the time. He's kind of a loner. He was really good at doing the mortgage stuff. he takes off his headset, he slams it down, and he goes, "That mother blah, 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 bin Laden, we should have got him when we had the chance." And everybody turns around and looks at him, and nobody knows who he's talking about. Like, who, what? And he was not a guy that you wanted to really get conversant with. He kind of had some anger issues, but turns out I think he was a Navy SEAL, and he nailed it. You know, we know what happens subsequently to that. So then at about 7:28 a.m., I'm going to start moving closer as I think through my final thoughts here. 10:28 a.m. on the East Coast. The first tower that was hit falls because it got hit higher up. And so it had more time to burn down. Of course, keep in mind, nobody thought they were going to fall. Okay. So now we're looking at the TV, and the first tower fell because it got hit lower. Now the second tower is gone, and you're going, if you were in that, there's no way you could have lived, number one. And number two, you're just like going, is this really happening? I mean, is this really what's going on in the United States? And so at that point, they come over the loudspeaker and they say, look, it's a tragic day in America. We totally understand it. No business is going to be conducted today. Go home, be with your family and friends. So I did. I went home, and the rest is history. That night, like I said, I was in relations with a lady that I was very fond of, and I was very deeply hurt by what happened. But I thought, you know, in hindsight, when I have, you know, the luxury of hindsight of looking back on all of it, there was definitely something amiss. But here's what I want to say to the younger people out there. It took us, forgive my math, 10 years, 12 years to actually catch bin Laden and assassinate him. Under the Obama presidency, the Bush presidency was unsuccessful in finding him. Good always, 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 it might take a long time, but it always triumphs over evil. Evil always loses. It may win in the beginning, and it may win for a long period of time, but good always wins in the end. Always. You can mark it through human history. You can pick any event, World War I, World War II, the Civil War. You could go on, the Depression, whatever. And that's just things that have happened in the last 150, 200 years. That's not even talking about things that happened before there was really good record keeping. I've gone on too long, but what I want to also share with you is there's this thing floating around about never forget. And I can respect that. I can, because, you know, if you lost a loved one, a husband, a wife, a daughter, a son, you know, that is like, I mean, you're never going to be the same person again. I couldn't even begin to comprehend. And the pure evilness with which the way they were killed is what is even more tragic, on top of the tragedy of just losing them. But I would like to say never again, not never forget. Never again, I know, is a tall order, but you know, we've gone 20 years as of this taping, and there's never been one major international terrorist attack, knock on wood, in the domestic United States. That is phenomenal. If you had told me that, or anyone in the first year after the 9/11 attacks, they would have laughed at you. They'd have bet money if it was a Vegas bet on it. So I'm here to tell you that I don't think that it can ever happen like that again. Not naive. I'm not saying it won't. I just don't think it can. So with that, folks, I hope I've indulged you. This is a much longer off-the-cuff installment than I usually do, but I wanted to cover a lot of ground and try to condense it. But I will never forget it. And it was part and parcel of why I moved back home, because I thought, you know, that's how short life can be. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you're not here anymore. On a much different note, I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell notifications to get updated on any videos that we upload. We'd love to have you. Just go to YouTube and type in MoxieTalk with Kirt Jacobs. That's our signature brand. And we're on all the major social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and medium.com. Until next time, I'm Kirt Jacobs. And just remember, Lady Liberty says, good always wins out over evil. Peace out.